each and every one of you here took the time, took the pain to come down here, and for that I say thank you very much. We're here today for an event tagged Saving the Girl Child. And I, for one, am one of those people that keep asking, is it not too much? Are there not too many events and too many talks about the girl child? And the answer is no. We have not even started doing anything. I'm going to start by saying that 2 days ago on Wednesday, there was this news article that trended online. A Nollywood actress, Rita Edochie. If you watch Nollywood movies, you would have heard of her or known her. You're very familiar with Rita Edochie. She acts modeling parts in movies. Rita Edochie was at an event and she was speaking, and she said something that got everyone really confused. Like, she said she was raped at age 11. And she went on to say that she got pregnant through that, and her brother, she hid the pregnancy, of course, as happens. She hid the pregnancy. In fact, she hid the rape and the pregnancy. Her mom only found out when she was 7 months gone. And she said the day they found out she was pregnant, her elder brother got a knife and said he was going to kill her. And eventually she was rescued. The person that raped her was her mom's closest friend's son. So it was really, really bad. They had to ship her off to her grandmother. She gave birth and all of that. And today she's Rita Edochie. She graces our screens and we're very happy when we see her. She went on to make something of herself. That's not the case for a lot of people. A lot of people go through that and it just turns them to something else. Now, in that particular news article, I decided to read the comments of people, what people were saying, what they thought about the story. And people were divided into three. The first group were, oh, shut up, it's a lie, nobody raped you. The guy that you're talking about is your family friend, so you probably had something for him. That's an 11-year-old girl. You probably had something for him. You people slept together, it was consensual, you were not raped, you just want to be in the news. Your acting career is probably not as good as it used to be, so you're looking for something to make yourself popular. That was one school of thought. The second batch were like, you were raped and you're talking about it. So dirty. Instead of you to hide it, why are you telling us for? It's too much information. And you've moved past it, just move along. The third, they were not so much, but thankfully they were there. They were sympathetic. Oh, that happened to you and you were still able to move past it, and today you're Rita Edochie, thank God for your life. I was really sad because that's a complete representation of the world today. A lot of people shut these people up. Don't say it, it's dirty. You don't talk about rape. He raped you, move on with your life. There is nothing there to discuss. Just pretend nothing happened. That is what, and a lot of times people don't even believe when somebody comes out to say I was raped. What did you go there to do? That's the first question they will ask you. So it's something we need to change. Parents even need to change. Because when we talk about rape, everybody thinks of the perpetrators. What are we as a society doing to help, to prevent, and then to help? Are we talking to our boy children? Are we talking to our girl children? What are we doing as parents? What are we doing as friends and neighbors? It's all those questions that beg answers, and that's why we have the event we have today. Today we'll be having very distinguished people talk to us on this particular issue. We have three distinguished speakers for today. I'm going to be reading a brief profile of each of them so we know that these people are actually people worth their salt. They are people that we should listen to. We're going to be having Mr. Tony Pico. That's the lovely gentleman sitting back there. Mr. Tony is the co-founder and executive director of the Sahara Group. He's an architecture alumni of the University of Lagos and Harvard Business School's Advanced Management Program. Mr. Tony is also an active member of the World Economic Forum's Global Advisory Council for Energy, and he was appointed to the UN Sustainable Development Fund Private Sector Advisory Group. He holds several key positions such as Chairman, Greater Port Harcourt Development Authority, Independent Director, Atlas Mara, Bloomberg TV, Africa, Nigeria Shippers Council, and Digital Jewels. He has a passion for youth development and giving back to the less privileged. And this led to the establishment of his foundation, the Nehemiah Youth Empowerment Initiative, through which he regularly supports other foundations like the Down Syndrome Society, Slum to School Foundation, Bedside School for the Blind, as well as serving on the advisory boards of various youth-focused charities. He's a motivational speaker, ordained minister, entrepreneur, and firm believer in Africa's inherent greatness. So we are really very lucky to have you here, sir. Thank you so much for coming. And we also will be having Mr. Mecca Uluwola speak to us today, and that's him seated over there. Thank you so much for coming. Mr. Mecca is the managing partner, Zenera Consulting, a foremost reputation management consultancy that provides services across the areas of financial communications, corporate communications, and public affairs. He's the chairman of Buzz Digital, that's a social media and digital marketing team that develops markets in Africa and Europe. He's a certified specialist in crisis communication and change management from Colorado State University. He facilitates trainings and workshops on branding, media, crisis, and stakeholder communications. And he currently serves on the faculty of Value Concepts, Kenya. Mr. Mecca is an active and passionate board member of Talent Afrique Network, a youth talent development initiative. He's also a member of care organization Public Enlightenment, a leading breast cancer awareness network. Till date, Mecca continues to champion strong causes that border on child education, gender equality, and wealth creation in all strata of the Nigerian society. So thank you so much, sir, for coming for us today. And we were supposed to have Pastor Joyce here today, but she sent a representative in the person of Mrs. I'm so sorry, Mrs. Ayo Lawrence. So she'll be representing Pastor Joyce today. So thank you so much, and let's pay attention to all that we're going to be informed on today. Of course, I'm not going to forget the convener of this particular event in the person of Anita Okanibe John. Anita is a dear friend, and I'm really, really proud to be associated with her. She is an author, a performance coach, and she has a passion for helping people and organizations rise above their situation. She's the initiator of the Saving the Girl Child campaign. This is a campaign against child sexual abuse in Nigeria. She's a member of the UK Coaching Academy, associate member of the Chartered Institute of Personnel and Development in the United Kingdom. She actually has a book out, her autobiography, Miracle in the Storm. And this book it's a book that encompasses her story. She poured her heart and her mind out in that particular book. And that book has demonstrated God's ability to transform a painful past into a glorious future. She has had so many radio and magazine interviews both in Nigeria and abroad, and she speaks in schools, churches, discussion, group meetings, and all the works. Anita has dedicated her life to serving humanity, giving those who are hurting a chance, giving them hope and purpose to live, because she believes that you can achieve the extraordinary because nothing is impossible. That is the person that we all came out here today to honor, and on behalf of Anita, I say thank you so much once again. And I really apologize for us kicking off late, but we've started and it's just going to be a ball from here on out. So I'm going to invite Anita now to come and give us her.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Just want to say thank you so much for being here. It is not easy, especially the time, 8:30, but you took out this time out of your busy schedule to be here, and I'm really very grateful. Thank you so much. I want to say thank you to our facilitators, Mr. Toyin Cole, who happened to be my big brother. Thank you so much for being here. I want to say thank you to Mr. Mecca. Thank you for your support. Even through the planning of this event, he's been an awesome support to me. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mrs. Ayo Lawrence, for being here. And for everyone that is here, like I said, it's not easy, but you made our time to be here. I really do appreciate you. So, I know some people will be asking, why the girl child? How come the girl child? There's so much in the news about rape, about sexual abuse. People say, why not boys? Boys are being raped too, why girls? I want to say that while you might have, 1 out of every 6 boys being raped, but you have something like 4 or 5, every 6 girls being raped, and most times these little girls do not even have, they can't even tell anybody. And you're wondering, what's going on? Guess what? I was a victim as early as I was 8 years old. Some people 4 years. Some people I've heard of somebody 2 years. 2 years old, and they grew up not telling anybody because we are afraid. So I'm saying that, look, these children cannot speak for themselves, but we can, right? We are adults, we can. You don't have to wait until your child becomes a victim for you to do something about it. You don't have to wait until your loved one becomes a victim for you to do something about it. This is the time for you to speak out. This is the time for you to, and that's why it's don't stay silent. And we know how our society is, the culture, the stigmatization that goes with abuse. Everybody is keeping quiet. But you cannot begin to understand the emotional and psychological trauma that this people go through. The physical pain might heal, but this emotional pain might never heal, might take a lifetime. So I'm glad you are here, and please sit down, relax, and learn how to prevent this from happening to your children or your loved ones, and how to protect your home. Thank you for being here again. So let's keep up.
If you're putting those ends together for it, at least put together. Good morning, everyone. Okay. Don't mind my voice. Been doing lots of talking. My name still remains MC Kisha, becoming a sensible comedian of the Federal Republic. I'm sure some people have been saying this. What is this guy looking for here? I want you to please do something. Look at your neighbor and give everybody one smile. Today is a very formal event, but we are looking very serious, as if it's a political meeting. So please look at your neighbor, give your neighbor a warm smile, welcome someone, give someone a handshake. If someone you've not met before, get to know the name of the person, house address, ATM pin. Alright, I want to do something. Look at the complexion of your neighbor, look at the skin color of your neighbor. If your neighbor is very complexion, tell him to see that he likes to be warm. Okay, now if your neighbor is dark in complexion, tell him to see that he cannot comprehend it. Alright, look at the size of your neighbor now. If your neighbor is on the big side, tell your neighbor to bite my come. Look at the size of your neighbor. Alright, if your neighbor is slim, like me, tell him to dry bone shall rise again. Alright, please, I don't know the organizers of this event, we are not, we are still expecting some of our friends and guests. So please, if you can help us work on this, you know me as a comedian, I will talk my mind. So if you're sitting down and you're putting your hand under your thigh, please, I can see some people, you're just trying to hold yourself. Help us regulate this very well. So that we don't fight child abuse and encourage adult abuse. You know, sometimes there's the way AC will hit you, you start feeling heat. Alright, I went for an event and one man walked up to me and he told me, he said, MC Bishop, you're very funny, you're really good. I love the way you command your audience, the stage performance. And I just said, thank you. And he looked at me. From nowhere, this man just told me, he said, MC, you will walk. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't understand, was that a prayer or something? He said, MC, you will walk. I didn't understand what this guy meant. So he said, look, if I were you, I would say amen. I just said, okay, so that the guy can just leave. I shouted a big amen. This guy walked up to me and gave me a warm hug. He hugged me for like 5 minutes. After this guy left, at the end of the event, I couldn't find my wallet. So I had to walk home. Just like this. So please look at your neighbor and tell him also you will walk. I'm beginning to search for your wallet right now. Do we have those guys? I know that Mr. Tony called. All this while I've been seeing him in flyers and I never knew that we look so much alike, Sam. It's my life. I one Igbo man called me. Igbo Kwenu, you have Igbos in the house. Igbo Kwenu. If an Igbo person is not here, you have to just leave. It means we are uncomplicated. One Igbo man called me. MC. He said, sir, he said, I want you to come and MC my wedding reception at my shop because I don't want to move my wedding reception from my business. I said, okay, no problem. Where is the venue? The man said, Alaba International Market. So I went to the wedding reception. After the performance, this Igbo man was so impressed. He called me, MC. Yeah, I went to meet him. He said, in fact, you're a funny somebody and I want to sow something into your life. I didn't know what this man wanted to say to my life. I went with him to his shop. The man opened the shop and brought out a Alaba generator. Alaba generator. On the castle of the generator, they wrote Yamaha. I better pass my name, a small one. When I got home, I opened the generator. On the gen, they wrote Yamaha. There was no ha. And you know this kind of generator, when you put on this generator, like
begin to blame you this way, why that was sexual partners, and 2 times more likely to have unprotected sex. So if a child has been abused over and over again, these are the things that are likely to happen to such a child. I'll just move on to the importance of parents teaching their children about sex education. No matter how young a child is, there's a way you can pass it across to them such that they're able to understand. I have a 14-year-old and I have a 12-year-old. And I remember when the 12-year-old clocked 10, we actually went on a retreat, so to speak, the whole family. We went out of our environment and we camped somewhere for a few days. And during that time, we took time to explain to them what sex is all about, at least to the extent, to what they can understand. But we had a general session, then I had a session with the girl, my husband had a session with the boy, just to let them know what this is all about. Before then, we've actually been speaking to them, when they were young, my private parts, don't let anyone touch you, no one should put you on the laps. Because it's very, very important. It's whatever you put on their inside that they're able to carry. And I know most of us here are Christians. I'll just read the scripture. Proverbs 22:6, it says, train up a child in the way he should go, and when he's old, he will not depart from it. It's very important that we put these things in our children from when they are young, because we will not forever be with them. I'm here now, they are home. I don't have a house now. I have a little one that is 4. So the 14-year-old is on that home now. I'm not home, but they know what is expected of them because of what we have put on their inside. So it's very, very important that we train them, we let them know, what is expected of them per time. Like I have here, we need to talk to our children about sex. that they have the right information. If we don't talk to them, they will hear outside. And most of the time, when they hear outside, it's usually distorted. So it's important we put into them what we know would help them. A few things here for us to note. We need to start early to talk to them. Like I said, I have a 4-year-old. She has a book written by Pastor Lukoya's wife that talks about your body, the areas that are private, the areas that are public, and things like that. We've tried to take her through, at least to what she can understand. You don't have to go deep. While preparing for this, one of the things I read made me to know that there are times when our children are asking us some questions. They are not asking us those deep questions that we think they are asking. So when they ask you a particular question, when your child asks you, throw the question back to her, so that you'll be able to know where exactly she's coming from, so that you're not giving too much information. When a child says, where do babies come from? You don't have to go through all, the graphic and the information and everything. No, you just take it at her own level. Let me just take us through a few things. When we discuss sex education with our children, we are letting them understand their body and to feel comfortable with their body, to see themselves positively. There was a day my daughter came back from school, the 12-year-old, and she said, Mom, I want to loosen my hair. My friend said, da 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 da. And I said, look at yourself in the mirror. How do you look? Don't you look beautiful? Don't I tell you every day that you look beautiful? Don't daddy tell you that you look beautiful? So don't be bothered about what people say. It's very important that we allow our children be comfortable in themselves and not let people say or tell them otherwise. Even if they do, we should boost their confidence and let them know, no, this is who you are. I actually showed her one of my pictures. I said, look at yourself. Don't you look beautiful? I know she smiled. So it's important that we make them comfortable in their own skin, so that no matter what people say, they know who they are. And all this is part of sex education. It helps us to start open communication with our children. And this communication must be honest, it must be open. Don't tell them what is not. I can remember when we were growing up, my mom would tell you that if a man touches you, you get pregnant. And you find out that he touched you today, nothing happened. He touched you tomorrow, nothing happened. So it's not true. And when he now goes further to do the real thing, you now know. So this is it. So it's very, very important that we tell them the truth. Be honest with the children that we have. They know so much. So don't think, especially the children of nowadays, they know so much. So we should not just deceive ourselves. Let's be truthful. If you don't tell them, they know where to find out the answer. Google is there, they'll Google it. Their friends are there, they'll find out. So it's important we are honest with our children. When we start sex education early, it will help us not to get to that point where it now becomes a very big topic. If you've been taking them, one stage from one stage to the other, you don't have to now put up the whole thing in one big essay or conversation. They already know since when they were young, these are my areas that people shouldn't touch, these are the things I should do, these are the things I shouldn't do, this is the way I should comport myself in a particular gathering and things like that. So it doesn't make it, a very big experience, so to speak, at the end of the day. I want to say that when we start sex education with our children early enough, we are even able to instill our family values in them. Most of us are Christians and we know that sex is meant to be reserved for marriage. So when you start from when they were young, they already have that on their inside. They begin to to grow up with that, and they will know that, it's not something that they should just engage in anyhow. I just want to give us a few tips as parents, as guardians, about sex education. Like I said, we need to give them age-appropriate answers. I'll still break it down to the various age categories so that you know how much information you need to give to a child between 2 and 5, between so that you're not giving too much information. Then as much as possible, like I said, try to keep it a dialogue. She talks to you, you talk back to her. She talks to you, you talk back to her. So at the end of this, like you both are working lives together. And like I said, be honest, tell the truth. We need to read. We need to read. If we don't read, we won't know so much. So those of us that don't read, we are actually just depriving ourselves of knowledge, because it is whatever you know that you can give to the next person. So it's important that we read books on sex, on reproduction, for both parents and children. Another thing is there are some children who won't even ask. Some are upfront. They will ask you, oh mom, what's about this? What's about that? But some children will not just ask you. So if they don't, you can start off the conversation and just take it from one level to the other. Then when conversation is going on, just keep your cool. Because there are times if you ask you some questions that you'll be wondering, where did they get this from? Like my 4-year-old, sometimes when they're watching TV, she'll say, Mommy, they are kissing. Are they married? Because we've told her that kissing is for the married people. So she will ask us, are you sure they are married? We've been able to instill that value into them. So they may ask some very big question, just keep our cool and just trust God to be able to give the right answers to them. And one thing I want us to remember is sex education is a continuing process. It doesn't start and end. We need to keep telling them, we need to keep educating our children. Let me just give us like a guide to the various ages. If you have from infancy to about 2 years, they should be able to name every part of their body, so to speak. My wee, my bum, and things like that, without shame. Without shame. And they should be able to know the difference between a male and a female. And for early childhood, those who are 2 to 5, they should be able to understand the basics of reproduction. A woman and a man makes baby together, and the baby grows in the mommy's tummy. That's enough for them. She's laughing. That's enough for them. They should be able to understand their body, like they said, and the privacy about their bodies. From age 5 to 8, they should know, okay, like I said, the conventions of privacy. Don't just let them walk around the house naked. And we parents too should not be the same. There are times to just, especially we females, if you're not careful, you have a little girl of maybe 4, you're just undressing right before her or right before him. It doesn't matter, she's young, she does not know anything. No, it's not right. We should try as much as possible to maintain privacy, teach them to knock before they enter your room. They don't just barge into your room. For those between age, okay, children should also be taught the basics of puberty, and because some children start early, and everything, so they need to really know a few things. And that was why the story I told was about my daughter, that we had to take her out of our usual environment, to just have a chat with her. Yes, I've been told that my time is up. It's almost up. Is it up or almost up? Up. Oh, okay. So just give me 5 minutes. I'll take it up. Then, okay, let me just rush through. How do we help protect our children from these evil people? The first thing is for us to know our children. When we know our children, we'll be able to know when things change. When there's a change in our children's behavior, we'll be able to pick it. So it's important we do that. We should be vigilant. Not that we should not allow them to express themselves. There was a time my big sis came over to my place and was like, oh, don't let Toyi do this. And I was like, why? Why? She should be able to go. I've told her the basic things. When she's going out to do this, be conscious of the environment. Because the truth is I will not forever be with her. So we should just be vigilant and watch out for people around them. We should also note that these people, they will not come as evil people. They come as people that you can trust, people that love their children. You know, they warm themselves up to us. So we must be careful. Then, like I said, we need to teach our children about sex. Very important, early enough, based on what I mentioned. Then, lastly, I want us to note that we need to entrust our children to God. Very important. We need to entrust them to God. You pray for them, you pray with them, because there's little to which you can do as an individual. Where you can't get to, God can get there. And when you do entrust them to God, you can be sure that He will take very good care of them. So I think I would wrap up here, and I think we'll be able to take
Please let's put our hands together. I hope we are taking notes of some very, very important points. Talking about our children, the love and care and trusting them with words and sum that up. I would say that, especially in this part of the world, don't mind us when we comedians, we tend to make light of them. But I'll just say it as it is. If you look at even our mothers, especially here in Africa, you don't joke with discipline. Train up the children with love and care and just a touch of discipline. But that touch of discipline, it has different levels. Especially for Yoruba mothers in the house. Yoruba mothers, they have this different range of slap. They have the baju, the 40, the ambara. These are slap that will give you feel adopted. And I'm from Edo State. Don't mind me, I look very American. My mother can even beat you in advance before you commit the offense. Yeah, she might just be walking past the kitchen and she sees you are washing the glass cup. Imagine, what are you doing? Say, Mommy, I'm washing tumbler. You are washing tumbler. Come. Pop. If you like, break them. You are not people talk of it. They will go between the class. But many of us have noticed that Nigerians, we have very interesting questions. Very interesting questions. So the Nigerian man will see you, greet the man, good morning, actually, you don't wake. No, have you noticed that? You greet the Nigerian man, good morning, sir, you don't wake. That was how I greeted one of my neighbors. Good morning, sir. I asked me, you don't wake. I said, no, I came to buy bread and I used to eat beans in the bread. They asked a very interesting question. One of my friends called me one time. Hello? I said, yes. Yeah, Emmanuel, where are you? I said, I'm in church. Are you in church? What are you doing? I said, no, I came to watch the Telemundo. That's a very, very interesting question. One of our tenants actually put to bed and, put in and we went to greet this woman. Congratulations. One tenant just came from nowhere. Madam, you don't know. I was able to say, she don't born. So you listen and she born. I said, no, she just ordered the child from board and said, Nigerians are very, very interesting. But I love saying this about Igbo. Don't mind me, I talk about child very well. It's only an Igbo man who sing a Yoruba song, you think it's an Igbo song. How many of us have noticed that? If you go to churches, an Igbo man will sing a Yoruba song, he thinks it's an Igbo song. Normal song, we all know. Jesu Midara, oh Dara, Jesu Midara. One Igbo brother, all the way from our came to sing this same song in our church. I trust Igbo brethren. Before they sing, they start living. Yes, sometimes. Inside Yoruba song. They sing song now. This brother went to the song. Jesu Midari, Jesu Midari. Yes, me that way, Chimo. What is Chimo looking for? This kind of song, you don't understand. This brother has never sang any Yoruba song in his life. You just want to the next song. Majo, Oluwa, Oboloke. When pastor wanted to song, he continued in the spirit. Majo, Oluwa, Oboloke. Ushers were saying, brother, stop in this song. Laba, Koichi, Shefumi, Ijon, Komido, Hallelujah. Majo, Tell ya neighbor, ushers wanted to go, they went to the next song. Eisha la 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 baru, Eisha lo she. It was 5 ushers that went to carry brother for all the way from there. All right, I'm not going to take much of our time. I would just like to call on this next. I'll call on Amaka right now. But before she comes, I beg, cameraman, are you there? Where's the photographer? The photographer, you said. Okay, please come and beg. You know we don't remind me of I'm a comedian. That's how we run. Please come this way. No, you don't have to go to the back of the congregation. Please come. Thank you. I want to snap it. Sir, please. And there's a head. The afro not even right. Please just snap me. All right. Don't worry, take your time. I want to use this picture to process my visa, please. Snap me 15 colored and 25 black and white. Just snap. Finish the film. Don't worry. Okay. Oh yeah, don't worry. Snap. Don't worry. It's okay. Please, the next speaker can go on stage. Alright. Thank you, sir. Please put your hands together for me now.
You don't collect all the face already. You go see the one way we use. Thank you so much, Mrs. Ayo Lawrence. I knocked myself on the head before I stood up. I won't make that mistake again. Thank you so much. You made a lot of sense. I was especially struck when you mentioned the fact that for kids 0 to 3 years, we should be able to teach them the part of their bodies. That's one aspect that parents have not come to fully embrace. I got a call from my kid's school one day. He was hysterical. Mrs. Obi, we need to see you, please, please, please. I was like, what's wrong with him? Please, Mrs. Obi. I left everything I was doing. I rushed down to the school. What's the problem? They said my son has just been talking about pennies since morning. So? What do you mean by so? Who taught him pennies? I said I did. Why now? It's too heavy. How can you teach him pennies? I said, you know people teaching him head and shoulder and knee and toe. So what's the difference between that and pennies? Egbamio, what is all? Please. That's the mistake we all make. You think it's heavy, and then when he's touched somewhere, he comes to you and says, Mommy, somebody touched my baby. That's what, that's the safe word for parents. Everywhere around here is baby. So now you're all confused. You don't know if it's the hip or the back or the, You need to teach them the exact names of these things. If we can tell them your head, your knee, why should we be scared of saying your penis? Even though I know it sounds weird. But yeah, that's where we are. So I'm going to be calling on Mr. Tonya Pico to come and talk to us.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. So a few days ago, I saw this message, and it was about little Johnny, and little Johnny was in class. And they asked him, English class, and they said to him that, can you describe, or can you tell us describe a period? And he said, but I don't know, but a period has to be a very serious thing. I said, why? He said, because the last time that my sister said she missed her period, my father had a heart attack, my mother fainted, and the driver ran away. English class. But you see the point, even as we laugh at it as a joke, what caught me about it was that it's something that happens, and it happens a lot. It happens a lot within our society. We talked about the 11-year-old actress, I don't know who she is, but the story is a story that we see every single day. I think yesterday or the day before yesterday, probably yesterday, I was coming from Abuja. And I had information on one of the newspapers. There was a story there of an 11-year-old girl who had been sexually abused by her neighbor. And it's something that you hear all the time. And what was the story here? For a couple of years, the neighbor in the house would send her, call her in to go and buy something, that he wants to. And the mother, not knowing that this neighbor was sexually abusing her daughter, go and buy something, he would come into the house, and he would tell her to touch his pennies, do this, do that, touch her. And so she came home, the mother came home, I was looking for the daughter, I couldn't find the daughter. I went to the neighbor's house, he was knocking, knocked on the neighbor's door to ask for the daughter. And said, yes, the daughter is here watching TV. So the mother called for the daughter to come out, and the daughter ran out naked at 11 years old. So she came out and she was naked. And why naked? This time around, it was not just that he had been touching her, but this time he had actually sexually assaulted her. So she was now bleeding and she was in hospital. And that was the story. So she could not walk and all of that. So she ran out, went into hospital and all. Now, these are stories we hear all the time. A couple of years ago, I met Anita, and this lady was a very troubled soul at the time that we met. Very pained, she had a lot of issues. And as we began to speak, I can't remember, someone asked me the other day how I met Anita, and I still don't remember. Seriously. I seem to have known you all my life, but at the same time, I cannot put the fingers to rest. Maybe you have to remind me where we met. But what I do remember is that there was a very pained woman in there who was very afraid of everything, afraid of men, afraid of touch, afraid of all. And as we began to get to know ourselves, I discovered that it was something that I was also very aware of. And so she had been sexually assaulted, she had been keeping it, hiding it, afraid of it, and not wanting to talk about it, and was keeping her on the inside. And so we went through a lot of discussions, and at the end of the day, she wrote her book, and that was the beginning of her own healing process. But it's not a lot of people that can talk about it. And one of the things that I told her at the time was that I was also sexually assaulted as a child. And it happened to me when I was 11, and it happened with my house girl who had gone into house, and she was 15 at the time, and I was 11. So I'm one of those statistics of 1 of 20 that it happened to. But what I realized happened and how I was able to, why I can deal with Anita's and come and stand and speak to people who are like that, is that I know the power that sex has on people. I've seen it, I witnessed it, I grew through it, and I knew the power that this young girl had over me because she had initiated into sex at such a young age. And she would take everything. When I used to talk about it and I get up and I speak to people like this, you may not understand why there's so much power in it and why you have to be very careful with your children over it. And it was something as simple as every time that they would serve us food and all of that, with one look she would say, I must not touch my meat. And that's done. I can't even have it. You will be threatened. You can't tell anyone, so don't tell anyone, but don't tell my guardians, don't tell anybody that this was happening. And all that. I said, if you tell, why? And meanwhile, the real thing is that just tell. If you have the kind of education that you are giving your children, let them talk. And when that breaks the power completely, once you don't keep silent, once you can talk about it, the power over any child that is abused is broken. But nobody understands that that silence is where the absolute power of the abuser is, that you are not allowed to speak. And so, of course, they will take my niece, they will do everything, put me in one corner, and for maybe, I don't know, for about a year till nobody knew what happened, and then she was sacked for whatever reason, and she left, and that was just one freedom. But it had initiated me into something that for many years, I was now finding myself in a cycle like that. It wasn't one person, it was somebody else, older, the aunties, cousins, all sorts of things that used to happen. And so as I grew older, and I found myself, and I became, I'm maybe one of the few people who can get to sit down. I've changed my whole life, either because of that or as a result of that, what I have become in life hasn't affected me negatively, but I've used it as a source of strength to help people to come out of it and also to speak about it without any worries. But that's life. It's not everybody that has that ability to do so. But one of the things that you realize as you get older is that a lot of things, including environment, contributes to it. I grew up in a home where, as I tell people, I left my parents' home when I was 6. And I did not end up staying at home, my own home again, until I was almost 16 or something. So for about 10 years, I was moving from one guardian's house to another. So I think in your statistics you mentioned something about people who are not staying in their home. But I'm trying from guardian, I lived in Ibadan, lived in Sule, lived in different places. And it would not seem, because all of this in the homes where I stayed were all homes of relatives. So it's not as if I was sent to some foster home or anything. It was relatives, just for convenience. My parents were not around, they had traveled, gone to university, or teaching somewhere. And so I grew up in homes of relatives. My mom's cousin, my mom's sister, those kind of things, so my aunties. But within those homes and the way where we come from in River State, it's not so much now, but I remember then, and I think it happens in the Igbo families as well, maybe some in Yorubas, that people would come from, your cousins and all of that would come and they would all live in the same house. And so you would have a room that has a lot of children. And there was a time we counted in my house, there were almost 20 of us living inside the room, and everybody was just mixed from boys, girls, everything. How many rooms were there in the house? We could sleep everywhere together, up, down, and all that. It's a very dangerous environment because nobody knows. My guardians had no idea what was happening inside the house. No, there are just too many people in the home. And so you don't know. And so as you are growing, I asked Anita, I said, what do you really want to achieve out of the discussion that we want today, so that we can be very specific about it? Do you want to talk to people who abuse themselves, or do you want to get to people who should know that abuse can happen right under their nose and they will not even know it's happening? Are you trying to let people understand what to look out for and what to see? Because it's very easy. People can come to your house very, very easily and you bring them under your roof. Cousins, relatives, and they say, come and stay in the house and all of that, and they're the same age as your children, and you say, oh, all of you come, and you think that it's okay. Trust me, keep your eye out. Between the ages of, you mentioned 7 and 13, I think, I will increase it, 7 to 14. I will increase it until about 17. Within those ages, when children are discovering themselves, they are discovering their sexuality, their bodies are changing, their hormones are coming through, you need to speak to them a lot because they are not fully aware of what's going on. They know that their bodies are changing. They know that they begin to get attracted to the opposite sex. Believe me, at that age, they are not differentiating between brother, sister, cousin. Most that they may do is just know that I've grown up with this one as a brother and sister, so this might just be out of bounds. But within relatives and all of that, it does not matter, especially at that age. So you have to be extremely careful as to how you speak to your children and you bring them close with relatives, with cousins, with first cousins, second cousins. It really doesn't matter because you will have this, especially at that age, and you have to watch out for it. You have to watch out for how people sleep and which rooms they sleep in. Because they say, under the same roof, we will move from one room to another, cross, go downstairs, go upstairs, and all of that. And you will be sleeping soundly, thinking that everything is okay in your house. It's not okay in your house. And I'm telling you from personal experience, because these are things that I grew up with, and you see it happening over and over again. So you have to be very careful. We talk about sexual abuse, and a lot of times people think that sexual abuse begins and ends with rape. It doesn't. Even when you are being careless enough not to educate your children properly about the whole effect of sex and all of that. You have abused them and you have destroyed the entire principle of which sex was instituted from a godly perspective. And you have just told them the wrong thing about it. And so they grow up not respecting women, not respecting men, men don't respect women, women don't respect men, and the thing for which they are brought together no longer exists. There's no value in it. And so we have to be very, very careful about what we do and how we create an environment that is prone to sexual abuse. Because you can create it very easily without realizing that you're doing so. And so that's one thing that you have to look out for. So what are some of the signs? You've talked about a lot of the signs, but let me just tell you something. So I went to a couple of years ago, I was asked to come and speak to primary school children at St. Saviour's School, and to talk to them about sex education, and different things about abuse and all. And so we were talking, and I said to them that, you know what, these are children, and I just said to them, can you write, just write, I don't want to know who you should just write questions that you want me to answer, and all of that. And so they all would know names and all that and do questions. These were children, they were 8 to 10 years old, if I remember right. The questions they asked, I was shocked at the questions. I was shocked at the questions. These are questions that tell you that the children of today know a lot more than you actually believe. And so allow your children to express themselves. So just like I started out with my children, knowing where I was coming from, I said, now when they were much younger, I spoke to them about sex, about what they need to do. And I said to my daughter, I said, as you grow up, people are going to come to you, they will approach you and all that. There's nothing that no one can. I cannot stop it, it's natural. That is what will happen. They will approach you and all. But if any man comes to you and tells you that they want to date you, they want to see you and all that, I said, bring them, just tell them one thing first of all, that they should come home, come to your house. Just come with me to the house, no problem. Any man that runs away from that never meets you well, first of all. If a man is afraid of coming with your daughter to your house, you don't meet you well. And so anybody who doesn't want to come, don't even consider them at all. Bring them is not a problem. Few are good enough to come. And when they come, then you know who they are. And you have a conversation. I have a conversation with my daughter, we talk, we're open about it, with your boyfriend, what's happening, and all that. So, you know. And so once in a while, I would teach her. She told me the other day that they expelled some of her classmates in school. I said, why? She said that they were having sex. I couldn't give me themselves. What was going on? He said, I hope you are not. He said, Daddy, why are you talking like that? I said, no, but let us know. Let's know. If you're going to have it, let me know so that we know exactly what we're talking about. If you get pregnant, you're still my daughter. I cannot disown you. You still be my daughter, but there are consequences to what you have shown, and you have to live with those consequences so that you know about it. But that is as an adult. But what do you tell children? What do you tell an 8-year-old about sex? You need to have that conversation. You must have that conversation with them because they know more than you think. And so, let them write. Speak to them, let them write. A lot of times, children express themselves through drawings. I don't want to go into a lot of the details that you already mentioned because it's true. You get into a room, if you see a child afraid of a particular relative and all of that, it's because that relative touches them in a funny way, even sometimes in your presence. I come and sit down and they carry the child and the child is sitting down there and there. And because they already have control, remember I said sex has control, but because they already have control over that child, the child is sitting down there. You are there. And a lot of people, they use the power of doing things in front of you, under your nose, to let them know that they have power. So you must understand that people will do things right in front of you, and you will not even realize that it's going on. You will hold your child, your son, your daughter, and hold them under a very strong sexual vice. And they will do things right under your nose, and you will not know, this uncle is so nice, it's always going, I'm lying. And believe me, both men and women, it happens both ways. Okay, so I know we're talking about saving the girl child, but we're also talking here about what you need to know about sexual abuse in your house. And so you find that there are older women that have an old vices over young boys, 15 years old, 14 years old, and all that. And they come to your house, as your aunties and all of that. They will come to your house, they will abuse your child, your son, right there, and you introduce him to sex at a time that he was not fully aware of what sex is. And she will have full control of that boy, and he will always be going there because he just discovered what it's about. He will always go and I want to have this afternoon. Sometimes they go get violent, sometimes they are always wanting to go. When they always want to go somewhere and all of that, because they're now enjoying it. They started with abuse, they're now enjoying it, they're hooked on it, and they're going that way all the time. And also pull questions. So, what are some of the things that you look out for? Give them, let them express themselves through arts. The way that they draw, and if you are artistic and all of that, you'll be able to tell whether there's an abuse and an anger inside drawings. You'll be able to see it. And if you can see it, speak to them about it. Sometimes when they depict families and they depict uncles and aunties, even in the closeness, there are times that they will draw and they're very young because they will express through drawings. They will put certain people close and they will put somebody else far away. And you ask, why is this person far away? The minute you know they're trying to distance, they're trying to speak in their drawings that this person is not as close as you think it is. And sometimes you'll be amazed that it might be their own blood, either cousin, even brother, sister, sometimes. So you have to watch through drawings, allow them to express themselves through drawings. Through writing, encourage them. If you have a gift to write, just encourage them to write. Write poems, write stories, just write the stories and read the stories. You would see that with children, because a lot of times they'll just pour out what they feel on the inside once they start expressing themselves in writing. So allow them, give them that gift, encourage them that they should write. And you will see in the writing, and you know their writing, that there is something that is not quite correct. You pick it up that as well. So those are some of the things that you need to look out for. Don't. A lot of times we grow these days, even our children with nannies, house helps, and all of that to grow, except to take care of. But we seem to forget also that the nannies and house helps and all are also people with sexual needs as well. And so, a lot of times they end up using your own children as well as their own outlet for their sexual desires. So, always, I think the critical aspect and the underlying fact in all of this is that you must be able to have conversations with your children very, very openly about sex, its consequence, and what's happening. How do you feel, who is touching you, wherever, and all of that. It's extremely important that you have that conversation and you have it with them when they're young. We grew up believing that it was a taboo to talk about sex. Nobody talk about sex out there. You can't even talk about it to your parents and all. And so, as we got into university, we found out that the only people that we could talk sex to were our own classmates who knew nothing and all of that. So you are speaking to your age mates. You don't know anything. You don't know anything. Both of you are now pretending as if you know everything about sex, and you know nothing. And so you are prone to make huge mistakes because the only person that you're talking to is just as ignorant as you are. And maybe just feels that he has more experience, but he's just ignorant and all of that. So you pick up a lot of things. What they need to do is speak to people who are much older, and nobody better than the parent to really speak to. So open it up. Let your children speak to you. And let them speak very openly to you about the issues surrounding sex and violence. When children, there's no age limit for sexual offenders. Sincerely speaking, there's none. You can find people even as young as less than one who have already been assaulted and all, and you find them as high as old as whatever. So there's no limit. So don't think that even your baby who is still being washed and all of that, but by someone cannot be sexually molested. So always look out for it. There's no age limit. People, human beings can be very, very sick. Very sick. So they can molest the human being. They can. So there's no age limit. So it's something that you have to know from day one, that your child can be molested from the very first day that child is born, all the way till the child becomes fully aware and takes their own decisions from 15 onwards. So please let's be fully aware of that. Yeah, I'm not sure that there's much more left to say in this aspect. Everybody can be blessed. It's not limited to people who don't know you, who've never seen you before, because that's what we like to believe, that the only person that can molest you or your child and all of that is a stranger. It's not. Strangers molest, you rape, it's true. But a lot of times, especially for child molesters, it's people who know them. Relatives can molest, uncles can molest, aunties can molest, parents can molest, brothers can molest, sisters can molest, everybody can molest. So let's be fully aware of it, that there's nobody who is exempted. You cannot look at anyone and just say, this person is exempted from the ability to molest by category. It's my uncle, it's my auntie, anybody and everybody can. So let's just be aware. The victims are twofold. Whoever the one who is being molested is, that's a victim. And you as a parent, you become a victim because you end up feeling that you let your child down by not doing what you needed to do. So, with that, I rest my case. I don't know whether we'll answer panel questions or that will be. Thank you.
I hope if you have questions, you just want to write those questions down, because we still have time for questions and answers. If you have comments. Thank you so much, sir, for that wonderful one. That I really enjoyed was when you talked about talking to these children, talking to their friends that don't know anything. So just take me back to, like I say, primary school days. Especially in those days when the kind of school I went to, those who were in military school. My father was in military, so went to military school also. And at some point in time, in the barracks, you speak lots of pidgin, broken English, just the other thing. So one time the head mistress just made a law that you must communicate in quaint English. There was silence in school. Everybody started behaving themselves. Even we too, because you see Obolobos, because I want to play football. Because of English now, if you speak English, if you speak pidgin, you pay 2 naira. If you speak pidgin, you pay 2 naira. So Obolobos like us don't want to speak pidgin. So if you want to play football, you just sit down your bed. So you understand, so we meet outside. It's not pidgin, it's not your language, And back then, that class captains, they are always very, very small and very bright. One of these, my friend Ogologo, the guy wanted to ease himself. And in the barrack, when you say, I want peace, normal, that's. But, for him to communicate. And this guy was, highly pressed. And, sometimes, as comedians, they highly impressed. And he went to class captain. Signal the guy. The guy looked at him. What I'm trying to say is, if you can't communicate, please walk out from this people. And sometimes when you start dancing to no music, just outside peace. The guy didn't understand. I said, come, if you can't communicate, peace outside. The class captain didn't understand. He said, I don't understand what I'm trying to say. Come and see, out of the pressure, somebody was just speaking rubbish. Okay, give peace a chance outside. The class captain didn't understand.
okay, I am pissed off outside. The class captain didn't understand. He just did his hand and said, okay, one person there. Will somebody kill himself because of me? Take, I will go up and come back again. Keep change in case I speak the wrong word. Take this. You know, the kind of school we grew up. And I like saying this, you know, even in churches, sometimes churches on the island, we will give testimonies, you know, varies. We come to churches on the island, especially all those Michael, you know, for on the other side. We will give testimonies varies. We come to churches on the island, you see a big man wants to give testimony, you know, these rich brothers. You know, their voice is very deep. Very deep. Just come on. Amen. Reverend, I want to give this testimony to the glory of God. It happened last week. I was about going to church and I asked the Lord, Father, should I use the Bentley or should I use the Rolls Royce? And the Lord spoke and said, son, use the Bentley. Amen. I was about coming out of my compound. There was this Okada guy. I applied the brake and it worked. Amen. Sweet testimony. Take it back to my former church where one sister, Asian sister Mira, she did it. Now her English is not even tight, so she wasn't even allowed to teach Sunday school. Now she will not come out. Pastor will say, okay, please can we have Sister Mira there come out to share her testimony from the back of the church. We hear her own praise the Lord. Praise the Lord, the rest, hallelujah. Now the only grammar she knows, actually, brethren and sisters, actually, I wasn't used to coming outside to share my testimony like this because actually I'm a shameful person. I used to share a lot. But actually, because what God has done for me, I said I will share with this testimonial. Actually, it happened all of a sudden in the last week. Me and my sister were come back from church. So as we come back from church, hungry and cash loss. So I asked myself, I said, oh, I will go to shop before we slept. My sister said we should share this our cupboard. So when I shared, we see a piece of plantain. Because when we are bought plantain, we buy the one I'm not ripe. So when it touch it, it will turn yellow, it will ripe a bit. So I asked my sister, I said, should we do a bakery or we should do dodo? My sister said, no, say if we do bakery will drink plenty oil. I will not have plenty oil in the house. So I said, okay, let us do dodo. So we cut the plantain small, I slice it small, I put it inside the oil, I do shame, you are boiling. All of a sudden, and I hear he knock on the door, I hear a small coco. Brethren, I don't want to go outside because our side we have plenty of brothers. All of a sudden, the small coco now turn to a big. Brethren, when I hear the big, my heart got it. I'm fearing. Because if you people say, you know, it's a fearing things. So when I hear big, I now step outside and I say, okay, let me check to know who are knock our door. I open the door, I see it's a small children that I shout Happy Christmas. I know this, I dip hands in my bag, I give her 5 minutes, I say, she come and do it. Brethren, when I close our door and turn back, smoke half fully everywhere. My plantain starting burning. Actually, when I'm fearing and panicking, the smoke starting beating. I now remember he said, our dad the Lord said we should sing anytime we have a problem. I sang it 5 times, but because of the fear, the sing did not work. So I now hold myself together and I shout Jesus in pieces of 3 times. When I shout it the 2nd time, the smoke that began before now starting swelling. The smoke now come again. But brethren, when I look inside what I'm frying, I see that my plantain have turned to charcoal. But all this thing I'm saying is not my testimony. My testimony is that because of the hungry that catch us, we shot that charcoal and nothing happened to us. Thank you so much. My name is Remains Energy. God bless you. Oh my God, please. Please let's put our hands together.
Bishop, you should be in your balance. And no place I want to sing. Thank you so very much, and thank Mr. Tonya also for that lovely talk. When Mr. Tonya was talking to our parents and our parents advising us to bring home any boy that talks to us so that they can see, I just pictured myself about 20 years ago. just strolling home with a boy. And, just knocking on my door, and my father opens, and I go in and say, Daddy, this is my friend. He was talking to me, and I told him to come and see my daddy. I was just trying to imagine what would have happened. I probably would have been on a wheelchair by now. Because the brushing, my father would have used the boy to flog me. As in, the boy would have been the bankere that they would have used to flog me. That was how scared we were of our parents when we were growing up. And that's the mistake that we should not make with our own children today. A lot of us were really, really scared of our parents. In fact, if we were raped, our parents would be the last people that we will talk to. If we had the signs that this person was looking at us sideways, our parents would be the last people we would talk to. We're that scared of them. And that's what we should avoid to do with our own kids. We should be closer to them than our parents ever were. And another thing I want to address, Mr. Tonya, you were saying that when you spoke to Anita, you were asking her what exactly she wanted to achieve. In fact, she wants to achieve all the things you mentioned, honestly. She wants to talk to the abused, encourage them to speak out. That's, don't stay silent. Expose these abusers. Because a lot of times, these people abuse this one person, she doesn't talk, and the person goes on. There's a school in Surrey that I, having talks with them to come and speak with the girls, and I heard about a particular two sisters. Their uncle, their mom's younger brother, is abusing them both. So he sleeps with this one and tells this one that I don't even need to tell you. If you tell your mother, she will kill you. So there's no point. And then he goes to sleep with this other one because that one did not report. So if we do not empower these victims to speak up, these perpetrators just keep moving from one person to the other and keep creating havoc. And then we're also talking to we parents. We have to change our attitude towards our children. We have to be more aware. We have to have our eyes more open. And then we want to have to raise ambassadors to stand up for the truth. The era of it's not my business, it does not concern me has passed. A lot of times, I used to think like that too, that rape was something that happened to poor people. That's what a lot of people still think that way. It doesn't happen. No, if you're okay, you can't be raped. Your child cannot be raped. That's a lie from the pit of hell. It can happen to anybody. So with this, the awareness that I'm sure Anita hopes to create with this her initiative. So we're talking to parents, we're talking to neighbors. Don't think it doesn't concern you. It hasn't happened to you yet, and we pray it never happens to you. But you have to take a stand against it. And we're also trying to speak to young girls to be their sisters' keepers as well. If you see, if you're more aware than your friend, then teach her and have her back, basically. So I'm going to be calling up the next speaker, Mr. Mecca. Before you kill me, wait. I have to get it right. Just wait. Okay. Mr. Mecca Uluwola. Did I get that?
Thank you very much. The thing about being the last speaker is that you often realize that the speakers before you have said all the wonderful things that you had in mind to say. So basically, my task this morning is a very simple one, which would be to summarize everything that has been said this morning. 5 years ago, I started working very closely with CSR in Action, which is a network for ethical and good citizenship in Nigeria. And then I realized that in Nigeria today, we are actually in a more serious situation than we like to admit. Many times when you see some of the statistics that I'm going to read out, which is just a rehash of everything that we've had, we start to get almost immune, if you allow me, to some of the statistics. So they just stay as numbers in our heads. but the truth is that they are very real. So two things happened to me when I was a child, which allowed me to be able to relate and empathize with victims. When I was about 6 years old, I think I was then, we went to the village, you know, like those days we used to do, we had a holiday break, how it was, and we went to somebody's farm, and I remember it was a cocoa farm, and then there was an older child, you know, so I was around maybe 6, and he was maybe 14 or so. So we went to this cocoa farm, and we had some cocoa to eat, we flocked it and we ate it, and that was it. I thought that was, you know, normal childhood effect. And then he started to blackmail me. And he was going to tell that we stole cocoa, you know. And this may sound just normal, but it was very traumatic experience for me. And it lasted for about over a year. And so he would ask me to go and steal money and give it to him, you know. So of course I didn't want to be told him, you know. So I'll go steal money and give to him. This was things that I knew were wrong because I've been brought up to know that those things were wrong. But I thought that the influence was so severe and way beyond what I could deal with, you know. So he would ask me whatever he wanted, he got. Whatever he wanted to get. So he would know when, say, my parents have gone to my granny's, and he would specifically mention how much he wanted. You know, and it lasted for about a year and a half, you know. And up till now, I still feel traumatized by it. So that's what we expose our children to when we don't allow them to express themselves. You know, very serious and very real. Okay? And then 2 years, about 8, I was 8 or so, we went to the same village again, you know. And like you described, Tonya, it was a very loose environment, you know, we had maybe like 20 or so odd children, you know, living together. And there was this auntie of mine, you know, that sexually abused me. And I almost could trace any act of immorality that I got involved with subsequently to that experience. You know, somehow, some way, you know. And it wasn't until I took a definite step towards healing, you know, that it became a deliverance, you know. And unfortunately, it took so long because I had to come to the point of knowledge to be able to then deliver myself, you know. Many people don't come to that point. And then you then wonder, how can a man and an individual become a serial rapist? How can a man become, you know, so vicious, you know, in what they do? But that's what happens, you know, when we don't do things that we should do. So I'm very happy, you know, that you're here today. I'm not at all surprised. In the last 5 years, we've done quite a bit of this, and you know, we never see many people. That's the truth. You know, once you start to talk about, you know, topics like this, you don't expect to see a lot of people. You know, so I applaud your courage for being here. You know, and what I want to do is, if you go away, knowing just one thing that you will do differently, please know that you may have saved even a generation. That's how profound this is. You know, for every child that you can displace from the statistics of being on the other side, you know, we may have done something that heaven will applaud you in eternity for. So I'll rush quickly through the slides. Happy Children's Day, everyone. You know, I'm very happy to wish you Happy Children's Day. But as we salute ourselves, let's know that statistically 1 in every 4 girls experience some form of sexual abuse, and that's UNICEF last year, 2015. But this is not entirely true. This is the number that have been reported. For every one that is not reported, there is at least another case, okay, that has occurred in one form or another. And, you know, like Anita said, it actually goes up to the maybe 3 out of every 5. You know. But that's the reality, you know. Boys is a bit less severe, but it's just as graphic. Okay, so that's where we have, you know, in 2015, 1 in 10 boys has, you know, have had one experience of violence, you know, or another. So if you use the same ratio, you know, maybe you're talking about 2 or 3 out of 10. Okay, so we'll move very quickly. I'll step down this slide because I don't want us to get academic with what, you know, sexual abuse is, you know, and I have done a very fantastic job at, you know, attempting to define it. You see, but everybody who is being abused or is an abuser knows that there's something wrong, even if you can't articulate it, right? You know that there's something wrong, and which is why I love, you know, the illustration that Sonia gave regarding allowing children to express themselves in either writing, you know, or drawings, you know, because the way that, you know, our minds have been programmed is to know that there's something here that is not right. So whether drawing a distant relative away, you know, from themselves or something, you will catch something very big, slightly. So violence versus violence, you know. So if you look at the mind of a serial killer or, you know, somebody who abuses, you see that you can almost trace it to something that has happened. So what can we do as individuals, you know? So going back to the point of how can we take this home practically? When we abuse our wives, whether verbally, you know, or physically, what you're telling any child who is in that environment is that it's okay to behave like that. Every time you see an act of abuse and you don't do anything or take a stand, what you're telling subconsciously to a child is that it's okay to be like that. Okay? So when children, boys then grow up, you know, they feel enough to, you know, be able to physically abuse another person, you know, be it a boy or girl, you know. So I go back again to, you know, the quote that I made about training up the child, you know, appropriately, and when they grow up, they will not depart from it. I mean, the Catholics say that you give me a child before 6, and I can make he or she Catholic for life, you know, and that's true. Even when they become other, you know, Christians, you still see the values, they still hold dear those values, you know, in their hearts, cycles. So the effects of child sexual abuse, you know, it's come out. The picture is a bit, you know, scary, but you see child pregnancies, you see fear, you see, you know, depression, you know. And 3 days ago, my wife was sharing with me some statistics, even in Nigeria, about 5-year-old children, 6-year-old children who got pregnant, you know. It wasn't, I had to look at what she had, you know, to believe, you know, because I'm a physiologist and I'm wondering, you know, how is that even physiologically possible, you know. But there's a chronicle of cases, you know, that have been below 10 that have been documented, you know, all over the place, Nigeria and outside, you know. So please, let's take this, you know, very seriously. For everyone who has a niece, a nephew, a son or a daughter, please don't just take these statistics as an academic exercise. Yeah, you will see a slide where I'm going to address what we can do and how the fact that these children know the perpetrators of these evil. You know, so it's not something very distant. Okay, slide please. you know, Facebook now, you know, at some point it started becoming fashionable. Suicide, the concept of suicide, you know. So they tell you if you don't have a number of likes, right, all the abusers will start to scream at you on Facebook to say you have to commit suicide, you have to commit suicide. You know, it's that bad, right? So